We have some updates on the new WNBA CBA agreement. How can teams avoid overpaying these players based off of their names? Also, I messed around and went down a rabbit hole of WNBA content creators on YouTube, and it was the worst decision I've ever made. Let's talk about all that here on a new WNBA update, right here, brought to you by dopecontent.com.
J Squad.
Yep. Welcome back to another WNBA update episode brought to you by dopecontent.com. This is your host, K. Lou here, and we're here to talk about some of the updates that we got on the new CBA agreement. We went down a YouTube rabbit hole, something I wish I didn't do. And then, how can you avoid overpaying these players based off their name in this upcoming free agency? And who would you give the max to? And who would you look at and say, well, you got the name, but right now I don't think you're a max player? That's going to be some tough decisions to make with a lot of GMs that have money that never had money before. So we're going to get right into it, man. Let's give you the rundown of the new CBA. Just in case you didn't see it on the last video, let's just kind of break it down real quick, everything. Once again, the maximum contract now, the Supermax is now $1.4 million. The average salary is somewhere around $583,000. The minimum salary is between $270,000 to $300,000, which means rookies and the low paying vets will now be getting paid, which was last year's max. Last year's max was $249,000. Rookies and the vets, the vet minimum is now more than last year's max. So shout out to them. The league will still provide housing for all players in 2026, 2027, 2028. Any player that's making less than $500,000 in 2029 and 2030 will still be able to be provided with team housing. I'm going to come back to that because a YouTuber that I randomly came across today kind of pissed me off about that situation right there. Let's see. What's new? Oh, so for retired players and NBA veterans, it's $1,000 for retirees with 12 plus years of service, $50,000 for retirees with 8 to 11 years of service, $30,000 for retirees with 5 to 7 years of service. So shout out to the people, even the players that's retired is starting to get money, man, because they put in work to get the WNBA to this point where they are now. So shout out to them. Expanded mental health coverage, including specific mental health reimbursement benefits. Let's get into the performance and award bonuses, which we did not cover last time. WNBA champion, they get $60,000 per player. The runner-up gets $20,000 per player. Teams eliminated in the second round gets $10,000 per player. Teams eliminated in the first round gets $5,000 per player. If you make the All-WNBA first team, it's $30,000. If you make the second team, it's $15,000. If you make all defensive first team, it's $15,000. All defensive second team is $7,000 per player. The all rookie teams, $5,000 per player. MVP, $60,000 per player. Defensive Player of the Year, $30,000. Rookie of the Year, $15,000. Sixth Player of the Year, $15,000. Most Improved Player, $15,000. Sportsmanship Award, $10,000. WNBA Finals MVP, $30,000. Commissioner Cup MVP, $10,000. All-Star MVP, $20,000. All-Star Game Participant, so if you make the All-Star team, $15,000. Three-point contestant winner gets $20,000. If you compete in the three-point contest, that's $10,000. The All-Star Skills Competition winner is $15,000. And if you compete in it, it's $7,500. Yeah. So imagine if this CBA was in play last year for Asia Wilson. So Asia Wilson won league MVP. You know she's a max contract player. So let's just say $1.4 million is her contract. She won the WNBA championship. That's $60,000 extra. And then she was the most valuable player of the league. That's another $60,000. And then she was also the finals MVP. That's another $30,000 Asia would have had in her pocket. Whew. So you know she coming for blood this year because she wants some of this money. I'm just telling you. So let's see. Teams required to carry 12 players. I think I went over this on the last video, but I'm just in case. Teams required to carry 12 players now, minimum 12 players. It used to be maximum 12 players. Now it's minimum, which is huge, right? And then you also create two new additional developmental roster spots per team that do not count against the salary cap. Yeah. Perfect. This is something that I've been asking for a while. The 12 maximum player is just ridiculous, man. The hardship contracts, when somebody gets injured and then they have to get cut, like, thank you for this, WNBA. Let's see. What else is new? So pregnancy and childbirth salary cap exception. So if a teammate gets pregnant, they won't count against the salary cap again. So that's good. Teams now must obtain players' consent before trading a pregnant player. Yeah. Now, you can thank Derek Hamby for that, because in 2023, she was pregnant on the Vegas Aces. She gets traded to LA. She filed a legal complaint against the WNBA and Vegas, saying the reason she was traded was because she got pregnant, and she didn't like that. So that was a whole legal issue that they dealt with from 2023. I think they settled at the end of last year. I can't remember exactly the outcome, but I think they settled for that. So shout out to Derek Hamby for speaking up. Yeah. Right. So with that said, it's now time to talk about the money and how the money is going to be spent and what is smart team building when you think about these teams. Because now you got a whole bunch of GMs that got money that ain't never had money before. And you know what the saying is: you give somebody money that ain't never had money before. You know, they normally spend it on the wrong things. They normally blow through it and don't spend it the right way. So with all these teams, all these GMs getting all this new money, how can you avoid overpaying players based off of their name versus their actual value today, right? So let's go through some free agents. Who would you pay? I'm going to give you a couple of mine. Jackie Young, that's a max player in my opinion. Kelsey Mitchell, still a max player in my opinion. Satu Sabli, she's a max player. Alyssa Thomas, she's on the older side, but based on what she did the last 3-4 years of her career, that's a max player still, right? And then you get to people like Natasha Howard, Brittany Griner, Skylar Diggins. You know, these are the older vets, and they got the name. You talking about first ballot Hall of Famers, easily Joel Lloyd. But based off of last year or the last 2 years, are they still max players right now? I think Skylar Diggins, I think she's just Skylar Diggins now. I think she's potentially still a max player, but at 35 years old, going to be 36 during the season, is it smart to pay her like a max player? Like, how many years are you giving her if you do pay her as a max player? Brittany Griner, based off the last 2 years, do you think she's still a max player? Natasha Howard had a very good year last year, in my opinion, but she'll also be 35, moving forward. Is she still a max player right now? You see what I'm saying? Like, Joel Lloyd, based on what she did last year, is she a max player right now? She won a championship, but like she was what the fourth option on that team in Vegas, and her numbers dropped. Arike Gunbowale had her worst season ever last year, and then she came in unrivaled and kind of showed you that she's still Arike, but based off of the WNBA season, is Arike a max player right now? You see what I'm saying? Like you gotta weigh those options out, like on who you paying based off of their names versus their actual value right now. So it's a lot of tough decisions that's gonna have to be made. And it's really crazy. Like Natasha Cloud, you know, you want these ladies to get paid based off of what they've done to get to this point where we are now. But at the same time, it's a smart team building to just be throwing out max contracts to these ladies based off their names. Now, I think some of them can get a max contract depending on the teams. There's certain situations like Chelsea Gray. Is she still a max player right now? Some would say yes. Some would say no. Nneka Ogwumike, is she still a max player right now? I think she is, but I've heard people say no. You know, they was like, well, she's about to be 36 when the season starts. Why would you pay her? Jonquel Jones, is she still a max player right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many. Oh man, it's gonna be a crazy offseason, man. Trying to figure out how to build a team and without overpaying, but still giving these ladies what they're worth. You see what I'm saying? So let's take Brittany Griner for example. I personally don't think she's a max player right now. Now, 3 years ago, yes. 4 years ago, definitely. Like, you know, you turn back the clock, definitely. But based off of what she's done the last 2 seasons, I don't think Brittany Griner is a max. But let's just say Dallas is interested in Brittany Griner. I'm gonna stick with the team that I cover the most. And you got Paige Beckers. You got the number 1 draft pick, which probably is going to be AZ Fudd, hopefully. You have a young core with JJ Quinterly, Maddie Siegrist, and Isaiah James. If you put Brittany Griner on that team, who knows what she could do when she has guards like Isaiah, JJ, and Paige, and then you have a wing like AZ Fudd coming in. Like, Brittany Griner can turn around and be dangerous in Dallas. Like, she might, her numbers might have dropped last year in Atlanta and the last year in Phoenix, but in Dallas, she might be dangerous. Atlanta really didn't have a point guard because, you know, Jordan Canada stayed hurt, and then, you know, Pow was good, but she was a rookie. Pow is not Paige. So, like, if you Dallas, I think teams like Dallas will be victim of overpaying players because they need the names. And I've been trying to tell folks, because everybody's like, Dallas is a rebuilding team. They didn't go into the season last year trying to be a rebuilding team. They just so happened to be a rebuilding team because they just couldn't get it together with the coaching and all that. They brought in vets to be a playoff team last year. They brought in Dejanay, Maisha Hines-Allen, Nelissa Smith, and all them to pair with Paige Arike and Tiara McCowan. It just so happened, you know, the coaching wasn't great there, and they was losing. So they traded most of those vets away to, you know, get money and get younger players so they can have money. They keep their young core and they can have money for this new CBA. So Dallas, teams like Dallas, Connecticut, and maybe Washington, and then outside of the expansion teams, Portland and Toronto, like, I feel like those are the teams that's going to be guilty of overpaying for some of these names. And I feel like you're going to have to overpay for some of these names. But moving forward, how smart is it? And how long do you sign them to these max contracts? You see what I'm saying? Like, can you do a 2-year deal at a max? Can you, and then just let it go after that? Because these teams that I named, Connecticut, Dallas, and Washington, their rookies are going to be eligible to get their money, you know, in the next 2 years. So you got to think about all that stuff when you're talking about team building under this new CBA, because you see all the names and you be like, oh, we got money, let's go get them. But you gotta think about the next year and the next year after that too. So it's a lot of names, man. It's crazy. Courtney Williams out there, Nafisa Kalia, Alicia Gray. I think Alicia Gray is still a max player. I think Fee is a max player. You see what I'm saying? So, but it's some names out here that if you told me 2-3 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, they're max players right now. But now I'm just like, I don't know if I would pay them max. So, like, you got to be smart out here. Now, if you're in the comment section and you got a favorite team, let me know, would you be okay with your team overpaying to get some of these names? Would you be okay with getting Joel Lloyd and Natasha Howard and, the Brittany Griners and Brianna Jones, Skylar Diggins, and, would you be okay with overpaying them just to make your team better and more competitive this year? Me, I'm tired of watching Dallas be bad. If we got to overpay, we got to overpay. But that's not everybody. New York don't have to overpay. Minnesota don't have to overpay. I don't think Seattle will have to overpay, or Atlanta. I don't think they will have to overpay. So, but we'll see how it go, man. We'll see how it go. Now, moving forward, I went down this rabbit hole of YouTube content creation for WNBA. It was probably the worst thing. I don't know why I did that. Some just told me to randomly search WNBA in YouTube, and outside of the first 2 creators that popped up, let me see if I can find their names. I want to give them credit. Let me see if I can find their names. But outside of the first 2 people that popped up, everybody else was trash. Everything else that I saw was grown men complaining.
Basketball's biggest stars
getting involved after.
So the Flight Mike, I watched his video that popped up. That seems like it was a very solid video. And then Rachel Demita, those 2 seem very solid videos. Seem like very solid videos. Like they actually cared about the WNBA and they want to cover what's really going on. So outside of that, it was a whole bunch of rage bait. Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, rage bait, clickbait. Then if it wasn't that, it was grown men complaining, like grown men in their 50s complaining about these women getting paid. They don't like the new CBA deal. One dude was sitting here saying, oh, why do they get housing? They're making $500,000. Why are they getting housing? Well, idiot, I can tell you don't watch the sport. None of these guys watch the sport. They just started watching, last year? The reason housing existed anyway is because the way the WNBA was set up, you had a lot of players on hardship contracts here, hardship contracts there. So it was a lot of times where they'll be there for maybe 2 weeks and then they're cut and then they got to go somewhere else. They're somewhere else in 2 weeks. They cut again and then they're somewhere else for 2 weeks and then they finish the season with another team. Perfect example, Odyssey Sims. She was in Dallas, she was in LA, she was in Dallas, she was in LA again, and then she was back. She finished the season in Indiana. So think about that moving in, moving out stuff, breaking the lease, signing the lease, breaking the lease, signing the lease, breaking the lease, signing the lease. Like, that's money. That's why housing exists in the WNBA. So for you idiots that's complaining about these women getting paid and the housing situation, I got one thing to say to you.
Shut up, bitch.
Just like that. Like, just like that. And then we get to people like Jason Whitlock, somebody who has a name, even though it's not a great name anymore, but somebody that has a name and gets around like 20,000 views on his stuff. This guy, at the beginning of his video, said the new CBA is an attack on Christianity, and it's a thing to push the agenda of the alphabet community.
What?
That's what he said. He said they're trying to push the gay community as some type of, I don't know what he said because I really didn't listen to it, but he said it was an attack on Christianity and it was an agenda to push the gay community.
What?
Like, stuff, we gotta stop this, bro. If there's any content creators that's like serious about the WNBA, please start getting on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, please let me know in the comment section. I will follow you and try to help you build your algorithm and try to build my algorithm as much as possible, right? Because the people that I see when it comes to WNBA on YouTube, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Rage bait, grown men complaining. Rage bait, Caitlyn, Angel, Paige, this dirty, they dirty, and then grown men complaining. It's trash. They deserve way better coverage than that. So again, outside of Rachel Demita, and then the Flight Mike, I didn't see any good videos, any positive videos at all. When it comes to content creators, of course, ESPN did their thing, but content creators, I didn't see any positive videos at all, except those two. And the Flight Mike, I'm gonna have to watch some more of his stuff too, because I'm still kind of iffy on his. But the one video I did see, it seemed like he was legit trying to report on the WNBA. So yeah, we got to fix that, because that's trash. That's trash. So till next time, man, I don't want to keep you here. We at the 20-minute mark. I don't want to keep you here long, so thank you for joining. Let me know some players that you want to build on your team, and do you mind overpaying for some of these players? How would you build your team moving forward if you was the GM? Let me know in the comment section. I will chat it up with you. Thank you for joining, man. Until next time, I'm out. J Squad.